Okay.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and all of you potential Toastmasters out there. Welcome to the show. This is Wake Up with Toastmasters. I am your program quality director, Ken Richardson, and my co-host today is the lovely, distinguished Toastmaster, past district director or district governor, Phyllis Turby. Good morning, Phyllis.
Good morning, Ken, and good morning to all of our public out there. We are so happy that you have decided to join us today. And whether or not you're with us live, or you're seeing this at some time during the day, or maybe it won't be until next week, leave us a comment. Let us know that you visited. And if you have questions, someone will answer them. Probably Scott, but maybe Ken.
Yeah, I think I can. I think I can answer them. I do have a Facebook page up. You know, we've been having some technical difficulties these past couple of days, our past couple of sessions, because there were some changes made to the way our show posts to Facebook. But it looks like we have everything that we need right here now, so I can see that we are live on Facebook. I do have access to the Q&A portion, the comment board. So if you have any comments, please give us a comment. Today, we're going to be talking about how to find topics for your speeches. One of the things that, for whatever reason, people get frightened about is coming up with something to talk about. So we're going to give you some tips today about our favorite things to discuss, or how you can find things that are interesting and engaging. And in no time at all, you will have a plethora of resources that you can go to. Yes, a plethora that you can go to identify potential topics for your speeches. First of all, I'll start out just by saying a lot of the ideas can come right from Pathways. When you read the purpose of a speech in your evaluation or whatever level you're on, just reading the purpose of the speech can sort of trigger, oh, I know what I want to talk about. So a lot of times, you know, I actually have like 2 or 3 different paths that I'm working simultaneously. And a lot of times that's how I start out, is I'll, do the pre-work, I'll look at the evaluation, the purpose of the speech, and then from that, I will be able to come up with something. Now, admittedly, I've been doing it for a while, so some of our newer Toastmasters may not have that facility quite developed. So tell me, Phyllis, what's your favorite way to come up with a topic for your speech?
Well, as most people know, I do a lot of traveling. So, and there are events in every situation, every travel, every location. Something else goes wrong or something goes extremely right. So I do a lot on traveling when I first get back about the many things that I have seen, the events that led up to it. But I think another thing is people watching. It is surprising how you can see somebody at like the airport and make a speech out of what you have seen. Especially, I had one woman that was on the plane with me, but before she got on the plane, I seen her walking around the airport, and she is carrying a baby, right? She has another one by the hand. She has a stroller and a third one pushing that stroller. Plus she has a backpack and a carry-on luggage. And it's like, young people, they can do it all. She was probably in her early 20s. Who would have gone to all that trouble? And you can just start making up stories about why she was there or where she was going, about the children. It's like fun thing to make a story up about people that you see in various locations. And the people that I meet, as I say, on vacation. So people watching is, I think, a great place to find ideas for speeches and just kind of add to them. You know, a speech doesn't have to be true. It's a speech. It's entertaining. So as you think of various things, add them to your speech.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. Most of your speeches are probably going to come from life experiences anyway. And you're absolutely right. Sometimes your speech is going to be fictional. And the point of that is to make a point or tell a story. And I think the most engaging type of speech that we can prepare is one that tells a story. People love stories, and all of us of a certain age, perhaps even the young folks, have stories, life stories over the years that they've accumulated that actually make terrific stories to share with other people. I know my days in the military, I've used that. That's been a rich source. I was in the Navy for actually 4 years of active duty and a couple of years in the reserves. And I have great stories that I can tell. This was back in the late 60s, early 70s. A lot of very terrific experiences. I love to share those experiences. And then over the course of, my 30 years career in healthcare, I've got some stories that are just, I think, of course, I'm a little biased, let's admit that, but I think they're engaging and interesting. So talking about yourself is not only can create an engaging story, it's a lot easier because
you were there.
You were there. You were participant. So there you can talk about that quite easily. And I think also from your work history. Now, I think you and I are both retired, right?
Yes, definitely. At least 2 years now.
Yes, exactly. So, but haven't you come up with stories from your work life that really have a great opportunity to share with others?
I think so. I had to do like an engaging humor speech, and I think it had to be 18 to 20 minutes. So I started out with how I met my husband, and I added bits and pieces to it. Well, it still wasn't long enough, and it was half truth, let's put it that way. So then I decided to tell why I was at this location, which was a wedding, and where I met this person was at work. And then I tried to elaborate on the working conditions, and they were bad. They were really bad. We had a room full of IBM equipment, 3 to 4 girls sitting at every desk working these IBM cards, and there was barely a pathway. So I elaborated and enlarged on it and everything about it, put the two together, and they worked really well, and I got my 20-minute speech. So yes, workplaces, the conditions there. And as I say, you take one thing and then kind of add to it, put a little lie here, a little high there, and add and make it work. Add humor wherever you can. As I say, it doesn't have to be the truth. It can be, fabricated. You can make it whatever you want it to be, but entertaining is what it should be.
And I've been lucky over the years. In 2010, I was third place District 33 humorous contest.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2016, I won. And I won in both times talking about relationships, particularly, my wife and I have been married 42 years. We have a lot of great stories together. Mm-hmm. And then I love to make up stuff anyway about retirement and how retirement is so different. And that's what my story was about. So yeah, that's a really your own life history, your relationships, your work life, all of that. They are rich in, let's say, what would we call them? High target, high target environments for coming up with speeches. Another thing that I like to do is, technology has really changed the way we do a lot of things. And if you go on Google and Google, what is the day, like National Cupcake Day? Nobody
Yes.
knows or it's National Cookie Day, or it's National Take Your Dog to Work Day, or something like that. I can find inspiration in those oddities that pop up on Google and just start, reading about some really strange holiday that's not a holiday,
That you've never heard of before.
never heard of before. And and as you say, tell a story about that, make up something. And that's just, that for me has been a terrific source of information.
Yeah. How would you celebrate this holiday? And go at it and to say what you think and what the parade should look like. There should be a parade, and what the theme of the parade would be, and how would people be decorated. You can just go wild, as I say. Just keep thinking about it, and your mind will come up with things. Even see it like happening. So, as say, the decor, the things that are going to be happening. How many people are going to be dressed for a hot dog day? And what can we get Oscar Mayer wagon with the hot dog to be in our parade? So yeah, it's like things that kind of elaborate into a speech. And we're talking about humor speeches here, but you can find serious things if that's your forte. There are other things to talk about, serious things. But one of the things I was thinking about was hobbies. Everybody has a hobby, whether they think of it as a hobby or not. I hate to say it, but jewelry used to be my hobby. And I decided that jewelry was so easy to bring back from vacation that would be my gift to myself whenever I traveled. And then I'd have a story about each piece of jewelry that I wore. And I was the humor master, I believe, for a division contest. And I told my story about traveling and picking jewelry. And at the end, I told people that if I got 2 or 3 pieces of new jewelry, it was a terrific vacation. And if I got 5 or 6 pieces of jewelry, it had some bad days. But when I bought 10 to 12 pieces of jewelry, don't go there and don't go on a bus. And it was surprising. People still today, after 10 years, will come up and say, went on vacation, how much jewelry did you buy? So you can combine your,
that's great. And you can tell a story about the origin of this jewelry. Where did it come from? I mean, that makes a great story. But I was going to say, when I'm looking for something a little bit more on this, because I love humor like you, I'm on the engaging humor path. But when you need something a little bit more serious, you can also go, one of my favorite places is the website census.gov. You get information about the census, and they have some of the strangest questions there. How many homes don't have running water, stuff like that. And the other place that really sounds weird, when I tell people this, they look at me, and if you Google the CIA fact book, World Fact Book, and there's a website. And believe it or not, the Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA, collects all of this data and posts it on their website. Interesting facts from every country around the world. And I mean, you can just, it's like getting lost in history or in a storybook, all the facts and figures. And that gives you everything you need to talk about Uganda or Nigeria, or if you want to explain comparative differences in governments, between country X and the US, or country X and Y, that is an amazing place. The other thing that I like is to talk about what's your favorite movie? What's your favorite TV show? Why do you like it? What's it about? That also, to me, makes for some very, very interesting speeches, because I just find it's so interesting to me, again, about why do people find this particular movie their favorite? For example, my favorite, I'll tell you, is Raiders of the Lost Ark. Did
All
you see
right, good
it?
show.
I saw that, and it was funny. I mean, remembers back in the 80s, of course. I think it came out in 1981 or 82, somewhere in that
We
time
were all
frame.
standing in line.
Yes, and
Get your tickets 2 or 3 shows ahead or even days ahead so you'll be able to get in. They were
yeah,
packed to capacity to get in there.
and initially I was like, this doesn't sound like a movie I'm going to be that interested in. Raiders of the Lost Ark sounded kind of mystical and what have you, and that's usually not. Well, I guess it is now that I think about it. I loved Game of Thrones, but Raiders of the Lost Ark, I've seen it so many times I can tell you scene by scene the dialogue.
What's coming next? Huh?
What's coming next? So talking about favorite movies, favorite TV shows, you can just go on and on about different topics for your speeches. And that's another source. So there's just so many sources out there, but sometimes I think we get stuck. We're thinking about, oh no, I got to give a speech. What am I going to talk about? Is anybody going to listen? Is anybody going to like it? And maybe we overthink it a little bit too much, because just as we were talking, we have life experiences and we have resources that gives us the tools to make compelling, engaging speeches. Like you mentioned, hobbies. I think that's a great one. I'm always interested in what people's hobbies are.
We had a speech the other day and the gal taught us how to use chopsticks.
Really?
She actually brought in chopsticks and some apple bits in bags. We opened it and we were to learn how to use the chopsticks and pick up the apple with them. So yeah, how to. Is there something that you do just naturally, which was, she owned her own restaurant or had, and this was something that she was, I guess, usually helping patrons with. And so that's what she did her speech on. It was like, I think her icebreaker or her second speech, and it was phenomenal that she, used all of this equipment.
That's
and
pretty cool
auditing.
because
Yeah. So things, teach them to someone else.
And I love the fact that she brought in chopsticks and samples of apples for people to try. I don't think I've ever had a formal introduction to using chopsticks. I just kind of watch other people. I'm not terribly good at it. I love Asian food. I love to go get sushi, and the tough one for me though is rice. If you've ever tried to eat rice with chopsticks, it is a challenge. But you opened up a whole other area. Talk about your work by example, bringing in visual aids and aids that folks can actually see and touch and feel and learn. And that's another great source. And it's very, when I've tried to do speeches like that, I found it to be much easier because the speech kind of writes itself. You need to talk about, well, here's how to hold the chopsticks. Here's how to make sure you don't drop your piece of apple in your lap.
Well, there is a technique, and this finger here moves the stick. But did I get it? No, I'll need a lot of practice.
Well, as I say, I'm not very good at it, but I can do it. And I make myself do it every time we go for Asian food where they offer chopsticks. Of course, I don't eat soup with chopsticks. That would be too much to ask.
But and we have some quilters. We've talked about putting together a quilting club. So maybe we can get Jean to come on sometime and actually teach us how we should hold everything to do quilting. So there are so many, many ideas. It's like, the cooking show. Yeah, people are showing you how to cook their favorite recipes. And there's demonstrations. You can do it. When I had to do that particular one, I talked about the new product, which was a small bottle to hold your tears in to give to people and how to collect them. And so, yes, we've all probably done a demonstration. You just don't really remember, know that that's what you were doing at the time. So, yeah, selling a new product, make up a product and sell it. That was one of the old legacy type speeches that needed to be given, selling a product. So there's another idea. Have you got a product you want to sell? Tell us about it.
Yeah, I remember that project from the legacy program because you got to be very creative on that one as well. You could either take an existing product or you could invent a product that no one had ever heard of and try to sell that, I guess, to your fellow Toastmasters. And it was a fun project because I'm not a very good salesman when it comes to that, right down to it. I really haven't, ever been in sales. My brother is a great salesman, and we have lots of Toastmasters who are in sales. But I always felt I was not well prepared to be in sales. And I remember just having so much fun on that project, make something up and sell a product that no one's ever heard of.
Every little bottle that I had around the house. So I had I think I had 6, and I talked about them and how you held your tears in them to give to your loved one, and the cost of each one, and, our manufacturing company. You just have to keep thinking about it. What could I add? What can I add? And it worked out. And you're right. It was a fun thing.
Yeah,
Gave us a new perspective.
And you can combine some of those things into, come up with something totally different. You were talking about the trips that you've taken. My brother-in-law, for example, he is a hunter. He loves to go hunting for just about it. I'm not a hunter, but he has these great stories that combine his hobby is hunting, and he does, he cooks whatever he catches or kills and what have you. But he combines his stories with hunting experiences and travel, because he has traveled, certainly all over the U.S., not too much internationally, but all over the U.S. and hunted in different locales and different types of animals. And these trips, I'm amazed, because you have to make sure that you get the license wherever you're going to be in, and you have to have something called a tag that gives you permission to hunt and what have you. And he's just got these great stories that combine his hobby with his travel experiences, and they're just always fun to listen to, even though I have to say I am not a hunter myself.
But you talked about that he actually cooks. And that was my job when I was young and a babysitter. I worked for some people that were hunters. Have you ever had venison chop suey? Yes, it can be done. I have done it before.
Now, I do have a Toastmaster, former Toastmaster, I should say, who also is a hunter. And I won't mention his name, but he made the best venison chili.
Yep, been there, done that.
Oh my gosh, was it good? And he shared the recipe with me, and you talk about complicated. It was very intricate. I've never seen so many herbs and spices used. It was just amazing. And I'm not really a cook, but I did learn from him how to make this chili. I've since lost the recipe, but I wish I could find it again because it was just amazing.
Immediately brought to me George Gilbert's chili cook-off that he has each fall.
Yes.
Bring your favorite recipe. See if you can win the prize. And I
Yeah,
got second overall for my chili one year. So yes, it's a fun thing to do. That's something else you can talk about, events that you've been to.
exactly. And just, I was thinking, that made me think of Toastmasters in the Kitchen. If you've ever attended one of their meetings, they're online,
Mhm.
but it's amazing to me how they're able to show, they use a couple of different cameras, and they're able to show how a meal is prepared. And it's just, it's another skill, cooking coupled with hybrid, not hybrid, but online meetings
Yeah.
that are, like you said, it's almost like watching a cooking show on, the Food Network or some other channel. It's really quite amazing. So, we've got about 5 minutes left here, but the bottom line is speeches are wherever you find them, wherever you look. You can find a topic that grabs your interests, and that should be your signal to develop that into a story. And as Jennifer says, and we tell stories. She just popped up here, said good morning earlier, and we tell stories. And that's absolutely correct. As a Toastmaster, you learn how to tell a story. And you can find inspiration in your life experiences, in your hobbies. You can look things up on Google that interest you. I know I did a speech one time on healthcare, and I was able to pull up tons and tons of statistics on healthcare throughout the world and compare the US with other countries. So the potential supply of material for developing a speech is pretty much endless.
Yeah. Not everybody thinks of things immediately. When I was a newer Toastmaster, they wanted me to compete, I think, in tall tales. And I just said to the man next to me, I said, oh, I have no ideas. And before we left there, he had written 6 ideas, and he had about a page and a half of information about each idea. I thought, wouldn't that be fabulous to come up with things that quick? I have to do a little more research, as say, it doesn't come to me that quickly, and it probably doesn't to other new Toastmasters unless you've had some experience in speaking. But the
Yes.
ideas are out there. Do not give up hope. As I say, experience, hobbies, events that you've gone to, things that you may want to do, and the internet. Go up to Google and say, I need a topic for a speech, and see what happens.
You're absolutely right. It's endless, but I think, again, a lot of us, when we think we have to give a speech, we get kind of a panic. What am I going to talk about kind of thing. It's only after you have a moment to think about the resources you would use that you realize there's so much out there. Well, we are about the end. We're at 6:28, so I want to spend a couple of minutes just talking about what's coming up, some things that are pending. Of course, I want to invite everyone to participate in Wake Up with Toastmasters.
Yes.
You and I are usually on Tuesdays. On Mondays and Fridays, we have Jean Williams and Jean Dunford. On Wednesdays, Jennifer Smith, our Division D director, mans the show, and she usually is with Jean. So there's lots of opportunities. Thursdays, usually Scott Transu, our Club Growth Director. He is out of town. We want to wish him well. He's on his honeymoon. I understand he's in Jamaica, which is a country I've been to one time many years ago, but it was lovely. So if you're interested to come on the show, talk about your club, talk about your Toastmasters journey, we'd love to have you. Also coming up on the 29th is game night. If you look back in your most recent edition of the newsletter, the district newsletter, you will find a link for game night. If you can't find your newsletter, it is posted on our website, the d115tm.org. And there is a page for the newsletter, so you can find it there. And then coming up next month, we have Educational Enrichment Night. We've got a lot of great things They're going to be presented. That's on the 12th. In the morning, we're going to have our district officer training, and then in the evening, educational enrichment. And I'm really excited because we're going to have a 2-hour presentation, parts 1 and part 2, by Nadia Gilks on how to create a podcast. That's a project in Pathways that you can select, how to create a podcast. So she's going to teach us how to do that. We, of course, will have the new member orientation. We'll have the Pathways Help Desk. And Jason Leduc is going to come and talk about setting goals for success. So it's going to be great. We're going to have a lot of fun stuff. Again, that's in the newsletter. You'll find the registration link. So please take advantage of that. Let's see. Anything else before we go here, Phyllis, to wrap up?
Well, I would tell our public out there, whether or not you're interested in a podcast, I would, if I were here, come and listen to it. Because the thing of it is, even though today isn't your day for a podcast, maybe the ideas that she presents to you will put it in your mind for something to do later on. And maybe she can explain to us that it's not as difficult as it sounds. So I would think, even if you're not interested in a podcast now, think about your future, go and listen and see, because it's a new subject for us. And everybody wants to learn. I am just sure of it. We wouldn't be in Toastmasters if we weren't learners. And something new to talk about, a podcast. So I recommend it. Go see it.
Yes, and it makes an excellent project down the road. You're absolutely right. I love when I'm driving somewhere, especially, I love listening to podcasts because you always learn something. And now you can learn how to create a podcast. So hopefully folks will join us. We're going to sign off and say thank you for joining us today. And we will see you again. I'll be back on Thursday. I'm going to be filling in for Scott, who is, as I mentioned, is on his honeymoon. We wish him well. And we will see you. I will see you on Thursday, Phyllis. I know you're going to be gone for a couple of weeks.
And I will see you public back after Thanksgiving.
After Thanksgiving, it's going to be a while. So you have a safe trip. Have a wonderful trip. And we will see you there. Let's see here now if I can find the right button. I'm always searching. I've got so many things open. Okay, there it is. Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining.